This is the Khmer Times News. My name is Paolo Bornini, and these are your headlines. A woman is horribly butchered in a village abortion. A military officer shoots a man over a traffic incident. And 4 men attempt to catch fish with dynamite and only succeed in blowing themselves up. But first, to our main headline story. The Ministry of Health has launched a nationwide crackdown on clinics where abortions are performed illegally. The move is to stamp out the scourge of these illegal operations, which have been plaguing the kingdom for many long years. The surgery is both delicate and complicated, and when taken on by an untrained member of staff, the outcome can often be very tragic. The crackdown comes as a woman lays in hospital in a very serious condition after a part of her intestines was allegedly cut during an operation to remove a dead fetus in Kampong Speu province earlier this week. The story went viral, and the outrage that ensued provoked a swift response from the ministry. They conducted an investigation and found that a midwife at a maternity clinic had been performing abortions illegally. The ministry said, although the woman has a license to be a midwife, she has never been trained to perform an abortion. The clinic acted recklessly by allowing this untrained member of staff to remove the dead fetus, and the clinic must pay the consequences of its actions and be penalized by the law. As to the midwife who carried out the illegal operation, they said, the midwife, Mrs. Devan, who was responsible for the removal of the dead fetus, her license will be suspended for 2 years. The province's health department director said that the midwife had not cooperated with the investigation, and when trying to locate her at her home, they discovered that she had gone on the run. The victim's husband is understandably angry, and he alleges that the midwife cut an incredible 2 meters of his wife's intestines instead of the fetus's umbilical cord. His wife remains in hospital. Her condition is causing grave concern. A military officer has been arrested after he shot a farmer following a drunken dispute over a right-of-way on a road in Kandal province. The incident, unfortunately, has echoes of a previous road traffic dispute that involved another senior official, which also ended up with a motorist being shot. It was only a few weeks ago in Phnom Penh that an official was involved in a traffic incident with a moto driver, and he shot a man dead. Witnesses were simply horrified by what they saw before them. A man gunned down in the capital city in broad daylight. In his defence, the gunman had said that he had seen the dead man acting suspiciously and he was compelled to act. But he now faces charges of manslaughter. In this latest incident, it was not in the city but in a rural area within Kandal province that a man was shot by a military official. The victim was a 23-year-old farmer. The gunman was a military officer. One evening last week, the suspect went to drink beer at his friend's house, and with him he took a loaded pistol. It was later on at 11 p.m. that the farmer was riding home in his moto when he encountered the military official. An argument broke out as to who had the right of way on a rural road. The altercation escalated, and the angered suspect pulled out his gun and shot the victim. Police have arrested the assailant, and it only goes to show that the mix of alcohol and guns is never a good one. And it is sure that some locals will be calling for a much stronger stance against anyone carrying a weapon, saying, really, if they are to carry a loaded weapon, there must be a good reason to do so. It has been announced that job scam schemes in Sihanoukville are being rooted out and closed down. And there was yet another huge roundup this week. 233 illegal foreigners were taken away, all of them involved in illegal online gambling. It seems the problem of online gambling in the city is like a multi-headed hydra. When one head is cut off, more grow to replace it. The local police chief has said, some Vietnamese, but mostly Chinese nationals were detained, and they are being held in Sihanoukville. One group of Chinese men has been sent to the General Department of Immigration in Phnom Penh. These foreigners, he said, are involved in illegal online gambling, but they are not involved in human trafficking or sex trafficking. Major General Narine said that the 3-day operation was conducted by a specialized team of law enforcement officers. He said, the police surrounded a building and searched it after a tip-off was received to the hotline of the National Police. And in that search, we found 233 foreigners on the premises. Some may say that these arrests are a setback, as yet more criminals have been arrested for cyber crimes, but it is not, as it is proving that the hotline introduced a few months ago is having a positive result. It has received literally hundreds of calls, and it has greatly increased the police's ability to target locations with a newfound precision that they never had before. Rather than searching randomly from one location to the next, they can now go directly to a site and they can surround that building, sealing it off so that nobody may enter and nobody may exit. Then, by methodically searching the building, each and every person is interviewed, be them innocent, be them victim, or be them criminal. All will be found and all will be accountable to the law. Some people were exceedingly unlucky this week. 2 such incidents come from either end of the social scale. One involving farmers who were trying to do nothing more than to put food on their plates by a method that would give them very fast results. The other incident was involving a gentleman and his fast car worth over $250,000. And he himself may be wishing that he had gone fishing instead. 4 men were seriously injured at the weekend after a foolhardy attempt to fish using high explosives. The incident took place in Palin province in the middle of the afternoon. Police say that the 4 men had gone down to a nearby river and had attempted to dynamite fish, but instead of reaping a bountiful harvest of fresh fish, they in fact managed to blow themselves up. Now, that is quite incredible that they managed to blow all themselves up. I mean, every single one of them. And as how they managed to do this boggles the mind, as when dynamiting fish, it would seem advisable not to be in the water with the fish. All 4 were treated in a nearby hospital, while the fish went around their merry way. A driver in Phnom Penh this week fared no better. He also seemed to suffer from a lack of experience in what he was trying to do. When driving his brand new Lamborghini, he was involved in rather a nasty traffic accident. Well, any accident with the word Lamborghini in it is bound to have the word nasty involved. According to witnesses at the scene, just prior to the accident, they saw the new car with no license plates being driven by a man at high speed. The driver lost control, he hit a Range Rover and then careered into a stone divider. The Lamborghini owner owned up to his mistake and he agreed to pay compensation for repairing the Range Rover and to the damage of public property. But I feel the real loss was having to return the brand new car to the dealership and to confess those wild horses that lay under the bonnet were a little too much for him to handle. Now, you may think that COVID thing has gone away, or at the very least it now lays in a dormant state. But unfortunately, you would be wrong, as the active number of cases has jumped, with the largest new daily case record since September. And the Ministry of Health is urging people to take more caution. COVID cases now total over 138,000. So far, Cambodia has recorded over 3,000 deaths. And at current, there are only 85 active cases recorded. But that number is low due to there not being a testing policy. I myself had COVID last week for the second time. The Ministry of Health themselves have said that the daily COVID figures are not a representation of the number of current cases. The Health Ministry has stated that the daily reports of COVID-19 infections do not reflect the actual number, but are based only on those who come for tests or are migrant workers returning from Thailand who are checked at the border. This is why the number of reported cases remains low. And those low recorded numbers do not reflect the real world, and that is, COVID is anticipated to mutate and to continue spreading. And although this may be alarming news for some, the threat level is greatly reduced due to the global response, with the largest global vaccination campaign of its kind that the world has ever seen. In simple terms, it ain't over yet. And washing your hands, not touching your mouth, nose or eyes is still a very sound policy to follow. And now it's time to look at our sports news. Let's go straight into the latest World Cup results. And what we see is the biggest shocker of the tournament so far in the top right-hand corner. Cameroon beat Brazil 1-0. And when the game finished, they celebrated as though they'd actually won the World Cup. It was an incredible game. Argentina took on Australia. Australia fought well, but Argentina came out the victors 2-1. On our second screen, we see England and France. They both won by 3 goals, and they are to meet in the next round. That is going to be an incredible game. Brazil got some of their credibility back by getting a good, solid win against South Korea. And that leads us to what's set up for this weekend. Holland against Argentina. That is going to be a tough one, as is England against France. So this weekend, there's some fantastic soccer for you to watch. It's time to have a look ahead and see what the weather has in store for us next week. The outlook makes a very pleasant change right across the board, including the weekend. We've got much clearer weather. The only downside is the humidity is still heading up towards the 70% region. This has been the Khmer Times News. You can contact myself at the studio by mailing us at ktnewsstudio@gmail.com. Please do subscribe and comment and stay up to date with all the breaking news by following us on both Facebook and Telegram. This has been Paolo Bonini, and that was the week that was. I'll see you next Saturday for your weekly roundup.